Good evening, students. I am here for the AEC Alternative English class for semester 4 students. Given the fact that most of you are busy with internships and also that your exams can be held at any moment in July, I thought it wise to video record this lecture from the comfort of my own home and upload it on YouTube. If we do have some classes online or offline in the upcoming weeks, nothing like that, but who has seen the future? So I thought it appropriate to just video record this and a few other lectures. So today we are beginning with this short poem, Tagore's Gitanjali, number 45. So I have already shared with you the text for this poem, so please refer to the text. You will find it in the WhatsApp group for the AEC semester 4 students. Please follow the text as you listen to this lecture. I don't know if you have ever had any exposure to Gitanjali in my class, because I really don't remember with whom I had the AEC classes in when you were in semester 1, but I have always begun my Gitanjali lectures whenever there is a poem from Gitanjali by mentioning that the Bengali Gitanjali is not exactly the same as the English Gitanjali. The English Gitanjali is a selection of poems from various texts, from various poetry collections of Tagore, including the Bengali Gitanjali, and that is a separate English book, Gitanjali Song Offerings. We all know that he was awarded the Nobel because of this book. But having said that, I must also say, and I have already said this in my former classes, if you had attended those classes, that Tagore's own English translations are quite poor compared to his Bengali originals. In contrast, the texts that he translated from other languages to Bengali excel the originals. See, some kind of loss is inevitable in translation. So this poem, Have You Not Heard His Silent Steps, is an English translation of the song Tora Shunish Niki from the Puja Porbo. Puja Porber গানগুলো যদি তোমরা জানো, and I know that most of you are accomplished musicians and singers. We have just had our Robindra Jayanti and most of you gave scintillating performances. So I don't think I have to say anything extra about Tagore's music here. So পূজা পর্বের গানগুলো যদি দেখো তাহলে দেখবে যে they are emotional outbursts. They are also charged with a sense of pantheism. Pantheism is something that he inherited not just from his Brahmo background, but also from Western Romanticism. And of course, those are highly lyrical pieces, and in the English translations, which read like almost like prose, he could not do justice to the to the Bengali originals. It must be said, this is not disrespect. This is a fact that I am stating. And also, see, for example, he talks about কতকালের ফাগুন দিনে বনের পথে. Now, Phagun or Phalgun, that's a culture specific term, the name of a Bengali month. But here he translates this sentence, in the fragrant days of sunny April. Now, April and Phagun, they are not really exact equivalents. These are two different things. So my teacher used to say that it's like writing Hercules for Bhim and Bhim for Hercules. These are two different characters, and just because there are some similarities, we cannot substitute one name for another. So this is a free translation. Tagore has taken liberties with the translation, and some things, some culture specific elements have been lost. Let's now read the poem. Have you not heard his silent steps? He comes, comes, ever comes. Now, who is this he? As I have already told you that the songs of Puja Porvo, they are charged with pantheism. He sees God, he envisages God in all of nature, including human nature. So this he is certainly God. But if you are not aware of Tagore's own philosophy and you approach these songs without any prior knowledge of Tagore as a person, then you can also interpret the songs of the Puja Porvo as love poems. They are dedicated to a human lover. So these two interpretations, both interpretations, are acceptable depending on who the reader is. So the reader has the freedom to interpret a poem. But yes, if you take into account the fact that these songs appear in the Puja Porvo, then you will have to accept that the entity addressed here is God Himself. This is a refrain coming up. A refrain is a line that repeatedly occurs at the end of a stanza in a poem. He comes, comes, ever comes. So the subtle presence of God in all of nature and this constant thought of God's coming is actually symbolic of an eternal renewal. So the poet feels God's presence every moment and he sees with his inner eye his advent in all that happens. Now let's get back to the first sentence. Have you not heard his silent steps? See the contradiction. Can you hear something that is silent? So the faculty here referred to is not our mundane ear, not our bodily ear, but the inner faculty, the inner intuitive hearing. So unless you are spiritually oriented, you cannot hear or you cannot sense the presence of God in everything. So, have you not heard his silent steps? This is a question that the poet, who is a believer and who feels the presence of God in all that in all that is going on around him, is asking the reader or to his friends or to other people who may not share his intuitive faculty. So this poem is like a conversation between the reader and the poet. Every moment and every age, every day and every night, he comes, comes, ever comes. Moment is certainly the smallest unit of time. Age is the largest conceivable unit of time, according to the human faculty, of course, because time leads to eternity. It would go into eternity, but normally when we the talk of time and we try to divide time into separate periods, the largest that comes to mind is an age, an era. So God is present in the smallest unit of time, and God is also present in the great length of time. This is His omnipresence. Every day and every night He comes. Day is a symbol of light, is a symbol of positivity. Night is a symbol of darkness. So God is present in both halves of the day. That means symbolically God is present in both that is positive and negative in our lives. Also, day can be a symbol of work, night a symbol of rest. So, as the poet is attending to his daily responsibilities and needs, he retains his feeling that God is central to his very existence. And similarly, when at night he is going to bed, in his sleep also, he is aware of God's presence. Many a song have I sung, in many a mood of mind, but all their notes have always proclaimed, He comes, comes, ever comes. So, mind is something that is not eternal. Mind changes, moods vary. We feel sad, we feel happy, we feel angry. So, mind in Indian philosophy is as changeable and mutable as body. So, while his mind changes and he writes, or better to say, compose, because here the mental faculty is more at work, not the bodily faculty of writing, the bodily act of writing. So, as he is getting through different moods. He is singing different kinds of songs, but the source of the song remains the same. So the poet is just a medium. The source of his inspiration is God Himself, and these lines prove that he is aware of the centrality of the divine presence, despite the fact that the faculty through which he conceives that keeps changing. The mind is changing, but behind all these changing shades of the mind remains one entity who is eternal. So, so actually, this actually can be explained uh, more successfully and um, more satisfactorily through the image of the cinema screen and the scenes that are projected on the cinema screen. So the screen remains there at the back, in the background. No change happens, but on it, the scenes keep varying. So this is a very patent image of Indian um, spiritual gurus. So that's why it came to mind. In the fragrant days of sunny April, through the forest path he comes, comes, ever comes. As I said, here Tagore takes liberty with the original term Phagun. Fragrance. Fragrance again is a symbol of divine presence. And in the fragrant days, God comes through the forest path. As you understand, forest is a symbol of mystery. It's also a symbol of introspection and retirement, because you all have actually, I assume you all have read our stories hermits. So the hermits always retire to the forest for introspection and for connecting with the divine. So the forest is the foil to our daily life in the cities and villages. So it's a symbol of mystery and also mysticism, mystical union with God. That's why he is coming through this. The poet says that God is coming through the forest path. He is one with nature, and at the same time, he is imperceptible. That's why his advent is a secret advent. In the rainy gloom of July nights, on the thundering chariot of clouds, he comes, comes, ever comes. So, again, here the poet takes another liberty. The original poem had the mention of Sravon. Sravon again is a specific Bengali month. July does not correspond exactly to Sravon. But probably Tagore had in mind the Western audience who won't understand what Falgun is and what Sravon is. That's why he had he had to uh, he might have unwillingly done this, but he had to resort to um, such inexact translations. The rainy gloom of July nights is contrasted to the sunny April day in the previous sentence. So sunny April is symbolic of radiance, hope, and positivity. Rainy gloom, symbol of sorrow. Rain often is comforting in Tagore's poetry, but in this case, the rain is associated with night and darkness. So the rainy gloom is symbolic of some impending danger and also of pessimism. Thundering chariot of clouds. So the thunder is contrasted to the silence in the first line. So if God manifests himself through radiance and silence, God also manifests himself through darkness, gloom, and thunder. If silence and fragrance are symbolic of God's benign self, benign aspect, then thunder is the symbol of God's power, God's wrath, his destructive nature, and gloom is the symbol of the dark phase of human life after some debacle. And this is so reminiscent of that famous poem, that other famous song. I think that is also included in the Puja Porvo. Just let me check. Um, yes, it's a song of the Puja Porvo. Sundaro bote tabo angado khani, tarai tarai kochito. So there also towards the end, he talks about God wielding thunder. সুন্দর বটে তব অঙ্গদ খানি তারায় তারায় খচিত খড়গ তোমার হে দেব বজ্রপাণি চরম শোভায় রচিত. And also in the third line he says খড়গ তোমার আরো মনোহর লাগে বাঁকা বিদ্যুতে আকাশে. So even in this fierce aspect of God, Tagore finds his royal and regal nature unfolding, regal aspect unfolding. বাংলায় বললে হবে হয়তো ঐশ্বর্য শক্তি, ঈশ্বরের ঐশ্বর্য শক্তি। আগেরগুলো যদি হয় ঈশ্বরের আহ, ঈশ্বরের আহ, দয়ার স্বরূপ, তাহলে এটা ঈশ্বরের ঐশ্বর্য শক্তি। In sorrow after sorrow, it is his steps that press upon my heart, and it is the golden touch of his feet that makes my joy to shine. In the original Bengali version, the golden touch of his feet was Poroshmoni, and press upon my heart was Hridoy Baje. So, even in sorrow, Tagore feels the presence of God. Both sorrow and joy are manifestations of the divine will in our lives. And see, press upon my heart. There is an element of force here, pressing upon someone's heart. So when you feel sorrow, when you uh, feel some kind of misery, then your heart feels heavy. So that sense is literally uh, replicated in this poem, press upon my heart. So it's God Himself who is inflicting that misery on the poet. But that force, once that force is exerted and it's understood as coming from God alone, the poet immediately changes his perspective and, and reads it as a golden touch, and immediately he is transformed into a world of joy. So at the end of the day, it's our perspective which makes us understand the mystery of God's will behind the world order. Sorrow and joy are all subjective. I would suggest that you also read the poem, the very famous poem and one of the most difficult songs. Uh, that's what Tagore experts have told me. One of the most difficult songs in the entire oeuvre of Tagore, Baje Baje Rammo Veena. So there also Tagore envisages the world order, the cosmic order, as a cosmic dance, a divine dance. And if you read it, you can have a fulfilling view of Tagore's philosophy behind this particular poem. Thank you.